なんだこいつ。まさか失敗したのか。くそ、こうなったら予定変更だ。今すぐお前らを殺して。
Of course.
まさか。
Of all the surprise reveals, it's both of the people that were dying in the hospital.
堂島、お前。
Are Kiryu and Akiyama just surprisingly not in the climax?
さすがにここまで長時間のイベントは初めてだからね。はるかは？ちょっとはるかどうしたのそれ？
え？ちょっとやばくないそれ？
大丈夫です。大丈夫ってことないでしょ。ちょっと待って、今誰か呼んでくるから。いや本当に
いいからここで待ってな。
Oh, they care. The shitty shoes are hurting her feet. They're just filming. No one's doing anything about this. I don't expect the cameraman to do it, but it's just kind of funny that they're just being filmed. I guess I just was a Kiryu last time, so I might as well switch it up. Give everyone a moment in the climax. They're just still here. Like, the time of day has changed, I think, at this point, because they've been fighting for so long. I think the concert hadn't even started yet. I'm more powerful when I'm drunk, but there's no way to get drunk here. I would have had to have brought that stuff preemptively. Akiyama definitely has my favorite fighting style, at least like on paper. In this game it doesn't feel great. It definitely felt better in 4. I don't know, I was just able to do stuff more effectively. I just don't get it as much in this one, but I've also spent the least time with it because he only has like half of a campaign. I'm not even sure how to trigger half of his heat actions without checking them all manually, besides this one over and over again. He doesn't even have like a grab a dude heat action, which is like one of the basic ones. But I think I maxed out his heat meter because I always do that first. So he should have every action unlocked. He does have a downed guy heat action. Oh, that was weird. It cut short. I guess because his health ran out, it cut short the actual kick. Or the actual QTE.
タバコやめとくんだったな。こんなんだったら。そういや、冴島さんと品田、どうなってますかね。
親父、あなたの負けです。こうなった以上、潔く負けを。 お前らの負けだ、堂島。
何を言っているんだ、この後に及んで。
時間切れなんだよ、もう。親父。堂島、お前の言った通りだ。もう俺の体は限界だ。
それじゃあお前、まさか。
そう、あの話は本当だったんだ。俺は本当に末期の癌だったんだよ。親父、そんな体でどうしてこんなことを。どうしてもこの目で見たかったんだ。俺が築き上げた力の全てをあいつが引き継ぐ瞬間をな。
くそ、まだ嫌がったのか。
There's no prompt. Do I have to press a button still? Oh, it's way up there in the corner. I was looking at the camera. I'm so drawn to his face via like the directing style of the scene. Like there's a whole science to like how cinematography guides your eye. So it guides me to him and the camera icon, and so I'm just looking back and forth between the camera icon and his face expectantly. And the talk prompt is so far away, I didn't even see it.
桐生さん、俺です。大吾です。
大吾、お前意識を取り戻したのか。
詳しい説明は後でします。それより黒沢の本当の目的は桐生さんたちの命でもカムロ町でもありません。登場会、それに近江連合そのものをある男に受け渡すためのものだったんです。
ある男だと。誰なんだそれは。
とにかく今は時間がない。お願いします。今すぐ登場会本部に向かってください。行けば全てがわかるはずです。
分かった。
How does he even have the authority to hand over the Tojo clan?
今すぐ行かなきゃならない場所があるんですよね。
だが
どっちにしても俺はカナイってバケモンとケリをつける必要があるんです。それに俺はこの町の住人だ。町を壊したあいつらを許してはおけない。ここは俺に譲って。さあ
頼んだ。
さあこれで俺もこの町の伝説になれるかな。行くぞカナイ。
Poor Okinawa has the least. He has the least relevancy to the narrative. He has no personal stakes in almost any of this besides just happening to fall into Haruka's storyline separately. Ow. Ow. No. No. No, not him. God damn it. I cannot control who I attack. Ah, shit. Well, he's dead anyway. I do not like Okinawa very much in this game. Combat-wise. Fuck. This is not a... Doesn't seem like a great situation for him to be in. Having a big heavy chasing him through a crowd like this seems like a mess. Okay. Ow. There we go. Can I counter you for having a weapon? Or it's because you're by the pole? Gotcha. Oh, the grabbing! Drives me crazy. Fuck that guy. Woohoo! So many enemies. Go, get out, get out, get out! No! I am impaled. That does not have much ammo. Can't use that here, because it's not really an armor piece. Ow. Let go of me! Ow. Like, Haruka and Akiyama are by far the least relevant to the plot, and have the least to do at this point, and the least stake, the least personal... Oh, Akiyama has the least personal stakes, Haruka has personal stakes. She's just not gonna affect the other plot lines much, as far as I can tell. God damn it. Ah. Emily's down. That's one of the ones I'm allowed to do. Gotta find the heat actions that actually fucking work. Oh no. Oh. Hey, it's my knife now. Oh, is the idea that he is that? Oh, the idea is he loses his knife at this point in the fight, regardless, probably. Let's see here. Fuck you! I got a knife. You like that? I don't think you liked it. Yeah, this is just the guy who killed Park, who Akiyama didn't personally know. I think he didn't know her. But it's not like whoop. It's not like Haruka's gonna fight him. Oh, he still has an entire bar left. Oh. I don't feel like Okinawa could block this guy's attacks. What is that heat action? No! My heat's gone. Fuck you, god damn it. What is the heat action that I'm nearby? I don't know. What was triggering that? It wasn't letting me combo anything, but I guess I was dealing damage.
ほんとしぶといね。
まだや。あと少しで次の部隊が到着する。もうこの町は終わりなんや。
何？
誰やあいつら。
黒沢の親父の息のかかった連中は全部こっちで始末した。
なんやと。
俺らが自分勝手な夢描いてる間にわしらはわしらでもっと大きな夢に向かって動いとった。山笠組に北方組、東上界に近江連合、皆堂島に真島、それに桐生藩と戦うことで互いに繋がれた絆なんや。もう踊れらの好きにはさせん。踊れらの敵はこの国の極道全員じゃ。近江連合は今日までただの一度も頭を下げたことはない。それが近江が最強たるゆえんや。せやけど今日だけは頭下げさせてもらう。秋山藩世話になった。どうや、ただの金貸しが極道の上に立った気分は。
いや、あんまりいいもんじゃないね。 あんたって人の器のでかさが身に染みてわかるよ。あとは桐生さんがどう締めくくるか、それだけか。
This is like franchise ending levels of fan service. We established that Kiryu actually really does punch morals into people, and that everybody everybody's clashed against and basically defeated have all bonded together in this moment, and then the entire Omi alliance bows to Akiyama. Okay. At some I can't help but think that at some level people enjoy this because it just breaks them down and they don't take it seriously anymore, because it's like how they kept having a scene where another person that's increasingly improbable enters the scene with a gunshot to announce their presence, and like first it's the entire prison crew somehow, and then it's both of the people who are dying in the hospital holding each other are back to also pull off a super precise saving shot. And I'm like, this is after we already did the multiple surprise shots last time we were on the Millennium Tower. So we just keep doing this one plot point and no one's ever ready for it. I'm losing my mind. At some point, I think what I would compare it to is like when you see the live version of a song and they hit the guitar solo and there's a specific riff that they hit a really specific riff and they just start repeating it, and then the audience gets louder and they're just drawing at the moment. Like, oh man, how many times can I do this? And it's like the number of times you have a guy shoot from off camera to announce their presence and change the direction of the scene. It's like genuinely them just saying like, okay, how many times can we pull this exact trick before the audience completely just gets sick of it? Like, what is the limit? Like, we need to go right up to it. Honestly, I'm just happy no one's turned their back on somebody with a gun on the ground and then they turn around and die. These are the Tojo patriarchs? Ah. Stop. Got like a tickle. Like the most I just... Oh. Remember when the Tojo clan was populated by named characters we knew? Like the bald guy, and Sarah, and the guy Kashiwagi, and Majima, and Kiryu. Like, it used to be an entire room populated with named characters we know about. At this point, I think we've gone the entire game without even seeing the inside of the Tojo clan's, like, meeting room in this particular game, because of how off focus it is at this point, and it's basically just Dojima and sometimes Majima shows up. It's just like it's very strange starting with Zero and then playing the early games, and so many of the major characters are from this specific series of patriarchs, and now the entire series of patriarchs is just a series of generic character models. They don't look any more sophisticated, more significant, or powerful than random thugs you see in the street constantly. Like, look at these guys. They have zero main character energy whatsoever. Whereas every time you announce a every time you announce a patriarch with the names screen and everything, like they always have like a specific unique appearance. I know these are budget games made really fast, but it's just like, I don't know, there's something weird about just seeing all the generic character models in the Omi Alliance and the Tojo clan as the patriarchs, when the series starts with them all being important characters and the room being populated with unique faces. And now we're having the most climactic, heavy, crazy, high-stakes scenarios ever with them so far, but they never made new characters again, so it's just Daigo Dojima and a room full of palette swaps. They are fucked up.
待ってましたよ。4代目。
お前は相沢。どうしてお前がここに？
それが自分でもよくわかんないんすよ。
なんだと？
俺はついこの前まで会長警護役とは名ばかりのただのチンピラでした。それが今はこの椅子に座ってる。
そこは大悟の場所だ。お前が座っていい場所じゃない。
本当にそうでしょうか。俺にその資格がないと言うんなら堂島会長だって同じようなもんでしょ。
どういう意味だ
4代目。あなたは堂島会長が本当に構成員3万人という組織の頂点にいるべき人間だと思ってるんですか？
何が言いたい？
堂島会長が現在の地位につけたのは大幹部だった堂島組長の意向や4代目だったあなたの口添えによるところが大きい。寺田5代目の裏切りによって登場界がバラバラになりさえしなければ絶対に跡目を継ぐことなんてできなかった。ですが裏を返せば極道の地位なんて所詮そんなものだってことですよ。いくら力や金を持っていてもコネがなければのし上がれない。だから未だに杯なんて古臭いものにこだわってるんです。
お前と黒沢は一体どういう関係なんだ？
俺は黒沢会長の実の息子なんですよ。
あの相沢があんたの息子だったとはな。
俺の極道人生は最初っからつまずきっぱなしだった。最初に杯交わした親父は四次団体の弱小組織。偉くなるためには人が好んでやらねえような仕事ばかりやってきた。この中に仕事でヘマをした責任を取って他人のクソを食ったことがあるやつがいるか？肩で風切って歩いて暴力でのし上がっていけるのは強力な後ろ盾があるやつらだ。だが俺にはそれはなかった。俺は自分がのし上がるため自分の兄貴分を殺し親父を殺し血と汗にまみれながら上を目指していった。だがな、脇目も振らずにのし上がった結果手に入れたものは権力という力だけだった。半年前だったよ。軽い肺炎と思って入院した病院で 突然肺がんを宣告されたんだ。俺はその時初めて焦った。自分には苦労して手に入れた金も力も残してやれる人間が誰もいないことに。
それで黒沢は血のつながったお前に全てを残そうとした。そういうことか。
そうです。でも俺が極道でなかったらあの人はどうするつもりだったんでしょうね。ほんと死ぬ前の人間が考えることは理解できません。
だがお前は黒沢の計画に乗った。兄貴分だった森永を裏切って殺したのもお前なのか。
途中までは計画通りに言ってたんです。森永さんも今の登場界のあり方に疑問を抱いてた一人です。いろいろと協力してくれました。だが森永さんは福岡で堂島会長がいなくなってからというもの、俺に計画から降りるよう迫ってきた。森永さんは俺にこう言いました。お前には桐生一馬を超えることなどできない。今すぐこの計画から手を引けとね。福岡であなたに接触したのは間違いでした。あなたは危険すぎる。あなたのそばにいる人間は皆あなたの魅力に引きつけられていく。
相沢。
でもそれが生まれ持ったカリスマだって言うなら、そんなんだったらずっとあんたが登場界のトップやってりゃよかったんだ。違いますか？家柄、それに才能、強いやつが勝つはずの極道の世界で、そんな生まれ持ったもんだけで勝負が決まるなんてバカバカしい。だから俺はあんたたちカリスマと呼ばれる人間が派手に暴れ回る裏で一人自分を鍛え続けた。
While you were out getting laid, I studied the blade.
強いやつが勝つ。それだけを信じてね。正直あんなクソみたいな親父が残してくれたもんなんてどうでもいいんです。俺は今初めて自分の力で頂点の人間と戦うことができる。あんたに勝てばこの世界のてっぺんに立つことができるのか。それを試したいんですよ。ハンデなしでお願いします、桐生さん。
さあ後半開始ね。次はいよいよドリームラインのデビュー曲のお披露目よ。気合い入れ直していこうね、あずさ。
ええ。
はるかもいい？次の曲はあなたがメインなんだからね。はるか聞いてる？
ありがとうね舞さん、あずささん。
突然どうしちゃったの？
行こう。 私たちの夢の舞台に。私たちは今日新ユニットドリームラインとしての第一歩を踏み出します。ドリームライン、夢の航路。私たちの歌を聴いてくれた皆さんのもとに少しでも夢が運ばれていくことを願っています。聴いてください。ドリーム。私の言葉が歌うことなら今日あなたに届けたいの。二度と二度と離れないとあなたのそばにいたいから。イントロのない曲のように突然見えた私の明日。二つの道は進めないからあなたのそばにいたいから。私は今見上げている。青い空を見つめている。永遠を見るようなこの大きな力に負けないように自分に誓うの。正直に生きると
さあ決着をつけましょう、桐生さん。
相沢、一つ教えといてやる。
何ですか？
人間には才のある人間とそうでない人間の2種類がいる。だがな、才のある人間の中に自分の才能だけで強くなったやつは一人もいない。超えるんだ。壁を見つけて越えていく。人ってのは乗り越えることでしか成長できねえんだ。
桐生、
お前の理屈は間違っちゃいない。乗り越えるべき壁が俺だというのなら付き合ってやる。二度と乗り越えようとすら思えない力の差、一度だけ味合わせてやる。
それじゃあ俺はあんたを倒し、名実ともに極道の頂点に立ってみせます。
ああ、超えてみろ。だが俺も超え続けてきたということをその体に教えてやる。
行くぞキリュ
This really does feel like the ending of Yakuza, so it's surprising that there's a 6th one with Kiryu. We're literally even going back to fighting over the fate of the Tojo clan with somebody with a carp tattoo, just like Nishiki. But also, like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, he's just a guy that he was a side character from the first campaign that only came up once since then. So I'm like, who the fuck? They have to explain his entire backstory from scratch here, while essentially setting up as being a new character that isn't even that same person anymore. Because once again, they're trying so hard to outsmart us and be clever every step of the way that like characters just are different characters later when you find out who they really are. Just like the leader of the Osaka talent was actually not the bad guy, because actually all this stuff, and it starts to feel pointless to try to keep up because they just change the characters into new people anyway, and here's their actual tragic backstory, and here's actually the context of what they're after, and none of the previous stuff actually mattered. I'm stronger than you. Oh no. He's in super angry mode. Nope. Where's the button? I can't find the taunt. I don't know what it is. I was trying to see if I could try it for once, because I don't usually do it very much. Fuck. I'm very bad at this game. That. He definitely feels like he has like super long tracking combos that still get you even if you dodge behind him. Yeah. Are you gonna shoot yourself in the gut so you can have that fair fight you were talking about, dickhead? Ow, this hurts. I don't want to do this anymore. That was the long mash. Whoa! Oh, that was weak. What? I like the part where his feet kick. What the fuck? I dodged behind him and he hit me anyway. Like, what is this tracking? I don't understand how to play these games well at all. Like, dodging doesn't work at all. He just fucking tracks you. People keep saying that it's like, oh, the franchise is about dodging behind people and hitting them in the back. When? How? How? These games do not teach you how to play them at all. Because the games are completely, hilariously, pointlessly easy, and then out of nowhere, impossible dudes showed up, and you're just like, all I can do is awkwardly get my ass beat and heal through it and hope I brought enough. So I have no fucking clue how to do well. Nope. When do I hit you? Nothing works. Throwing keeps working. Until he builds up some kind of resistance. Like, even if they don't block, your attacks still don't work. They don't even work when you actually get openings. They still will just hit you back. I don't understand. And then your reward for leveling up is you just get the tiger drop, and the tiger drop is just a free win. Because you just do a billion damage by just hitting triangle at the right time. So, like, that's not interesting either? I don't get it. Fuck you. Alright, let's look at my abilities. These are so many. Wow, this is a long list. A lot of them are weapons, though. Essence of bowling. I wish I had a bowling ball. Essence of umbrella. A lot of them are just near specific elements. Yeah, I didn't sit here and grind through the Kamaki abilities, so I don't have Tiger Drop with this one. And I don't even know how to navigate that menu in a way to learn anything interesting, besides just brute force reading like 300 entries. But a lot of them are just contextual heat actions when you're next to a pillar or something. Wow, fuck me. I can never do the re-guard. It's supposed to be pressing block again after they break your block, right? It never seems to actually do anything. Or at least I can never re-establish guard mid-combo. Not even once, which it feels like I should be able to do it once. I'm so trash at this game. How do you dodge? I'm trying to dodge behind him and I can't fucking do it. He just fucking tracks you. What is the move you're supposed to do against that? Like, what inputs do you use? Actually give me answers instead of just saying I'm bad at the game. It's not helpful. Because people just complain I don't play it well enough, but they never actually tell me how to play better. How many health? I have no idea how many health bars he has. Some of the colors just keep going. He's a jawbreaker. Do you just block forever? Why do you keep trying this? You're giving me not tinnitus. You're giving me an RSI with how much I have to fucking press A. Come on. Like, how do you land hits? You can just block forever too. Why does dodging behind work for him? I can't ever get that to work. I have no idea what causes any of my attacks to actually finally land. Look at his animation cancel dodges that he does. They're so fucking perfect. This dickhead. Ugh. It's my last one. I feel like he's literally going through the health bar colors we've already beaten before, and they just come back. He just ignores my moves and fight. This fucking sucks. He doesn't have to maintain heat the way I do, he just has infinite heat. I'm so frustrated right now. It didn't let me counter that time at all. There we go. Great. Great. Please die. How many fucking health bars do you have? I have no fucking clue how to play this game, I swear to God. This is hour 300 of playing Yakuza and I have no idea how to play. I'm just doing basic beat-em-up stuff and hoping for something to work and it doesn't work. Like, what the fuck? When do you get practice fighting this kind of enemy? With all the whatever the fuck bullshit move he's in mode where he's just invincible. It's so frustrating. I can't hit him! Do I have to watch someone else play this game? Like, to learn how to play it? I'm so fucking frustrated. Just because nothing fucking works. And I'm being forced to play the guy I played 40 hours ago. What do you do? I'm very disappointed how effective this is. Why is this the one attack that works? What the fuck? Ah, that's not good. He has a counter. He has a shitty counter kick. No. He's learning. Oh no, he's learned my. He's wise to my ways. All my heat is gone now. I was trying to use it. That sucks. This is like the shitty tiger drop. The kitten slap. It's probably better just to be in heat mode. I don't remember if it actually increases my damage, but I think it increases poise or whatever. Just increases my chances of just getting through a lot of this. No. Oh no, I missed my chance to hit Y. No, all my heat's gone. All of it. God fucking damn it. That's his final health bar, isn't it? The yellow one. Do you guys get it? It's a metaphor. He was in the throne room, and I'm not an hour in the lobby. I'm pushing him away from his goal by kicking all of his ass. Damn it! I had a chance to do a counter grapple. You have to be so ready for these in advance. Because you cannot react to the prompts, it's too brief. Although I think it's because of how brutally they drain heat the moment anything happens to you. I would like to use my super action, but I don't think it's ever going to fill up. For all I know, it might be fueled by using heat actions, which I haven't been. I actually don't know what fills it. It was probably explained in one title card months ago. Oh, he has another health bar, right. The orangey one. Well, last time I died while trying to drain his green one. I'm alarmed by that. Uh-oh. What does that mean? Oh god. He does kind of have like a tiger drop, doesn't he? Or it's that like dodge back move that I have, kind of. I really want to use a heat action ever. I just cannot actually get them to happen. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. That fucking infinite combo. Okay, we're in a way better chance of success, obviously, than last time. No! Don't randomly grab. I was trying to leave the menu. What? What? I'm way too far away. That is... What the fuck? Oh, he got more health bar back via that Super Saiyan thing. Nope. Everything he does obliterates my heat bar. Nope. He literally will just start this whole combo over every time the moment he gets a single opening. If you don't... No. You fucking prick. Stop healing. Do not make me restart this again. This fight's like 10 minutes long every time. Because I'm bad at it. Fucking stop hitting me. God damn it, I'm not making any progress because he heals now. Jesus Christ. His fucking animation cancel dodges. God damn. I'm fucked. I'm not gonna make it. Am I gonna have to fucking go back to an hour ago, redo a bunch of training, then come back and redo all of the fights that happened back to back with no checkpoints? Because I have to replay like several like fucking RSI causing button mash fests as every character to get here again. No. You need to stop fucking healing. You did not even grab me. Even visually, it doesn't even like snap me into him. It just very obviously he did not reach me, and the game just gives him credit for it. This is the most high stakes, dumbest fight. Like, this is so tense. I'm really nervous. Oh god. I have no idea when a different outcome's gonna happen. I don't know why he's not healing anymore. Or does he just do it rule of 3 style? I have heat. Trigger a cutscene. Please. No. My heat. My heat. I did like a counter of some kind. I don't even know which one that was. Fucking goddamn it. I'm out of these, aren't I? Yeah. Fucking. Alright. No. 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 Come on! No! No! When does it trigger the cutscene? Normally when he's on the last bar, at some point the fucking cutscene triggers. It's the final health bar. Wanna grab me? Wanna grab me? I'll take that. I unlocked the thingy! Yay! Fuck you, Aizawa. That scared me.
這いやがれ相沢。 何年経っても構わない。這い上がってまた俺に向かってこい。そん時まで待っててやるぜ。
I also felt like I was playing a character who had been shot.
ちょっと何やってるの？次の曲始まるわよ。はるか。
実は皆さんにどうしても話しておかなければならないことがあります。今私がこのステージの上に立てているのは決して自分一人の力ではありません。私を支えてくれた事務所の社長やマネージャー、ダメな私を見捨てずに指導してくれた先生方、プリンセスリーグで互いに競い合ったライバルたち、そして何よりもこんな私のことを応援してくれるみんなのおかげです。でもそんなみんなに隠していたことがあります。それは私の家族のことです。私はずっと自分の親の顔を知らずに育ちました。親のいない私にとって養護施設で一緒に暮らす子供たちや面倒を見てくれるおじさんは本当の家族以上に大切な存在でした。でもその大好きなみんなから私は離れてしまいました。アイドルとしてデビューするためです。
何やってんだあいつは。警備に指示して止めさせろ。はい。
アイドルって女の子なら誰もが一度は夢に見ますよね。もちろん私もそうでした。でも私にはそれ以上に決して裕福とは言えない現実がありました。私は自分がアイドルになって成功することで養護施設の経営を助けられると思いました。しかしそれは同時に私をこれまで育ててくれた大事な人との絆を断ち切ることにつながったんです。私を育ててくれたおじさんは昔極道と呼ばれていた人でした。他の人から見たら怖いかもしれないけど、私にとってのおじさんは強くて優しくて頼りがいがあるけど、でもどこかちょっと抜けてて、私はそんなおじさんのことが大好きでした。けど今はもうおじさんのことを家族とは呼んじゃいけないんです。それでも私後悔はしてません。私にこの世界を見せてくれた事務所の社長には 言葉にはできないくらいの感謝をしています。毎日が新鮮な驚きに満ちていて、嬉しいこと、楽しいこと、辛いこと、悲しいこと、たくさんありました。これからもそんな生活が続くのかと思うと心がワクワクします。けどファンのみんなや何より自分自身に嘘をついて生きていくことは私にはできません。私の夢はアイドルになること。でももう一つあったんです。大好きな人たちと一緒に幸せに暮らすこと。今日この舞台に立って私にとって何が一番大事なのかやっと分かりました。だからもうこれ以上歌うことはできません。私は桐生一馬の家族です。
So do we get a refund or? Oh. That's where the credits roll. Huh. Did we stop the plan? Did stopping the plan hinge on punching that one guy really hard? Everyone in that building's still dead. Weren't they important? I don't know how to deal with incredibly major things happening off camera where it's just like, hey, everyone in the Tojo clan building's dead. Surprise. But you can punch the guy who did it. But did that stop him? Did he kill all of them single-handedly, I guess? Because no one else was there, apparently. But I guess Dojima's still around. So, like, Daigo just goes back to being the chairman. But also, like, that guy is gonna now be the leader of the Omi Alliance, I guess? Because the leader is dying, and that's his dad. And he just said that he'll be the next guy. But the master plan was that he was just gonna walk in and single-handedly kill everyone left in that building, and then now he's just the leader of the Tojo clan too, I guess? Like, just, it's just that simple? Does it even work that way? Who's left in the Tojo clan? Every time we come back to this, we keep reestablishing that apparently, like, the Majima family is the biggest one now, because everyone else is fucked. I feel like they established that like 3 games ago. But Majima keeps getting, like, arrested or murdered or captured in every game. So, like, does he even have a strong family? They just say that he has 30,000 people, apparently. Or that they collectively have 30,000 people. I've lost track of what team people were on. I think all the people that fought Akiyama, or showed up at Akiyama's place in Theater Square, I think one of them was Omi Alliance, and then 2 of them were from the 3rd faction that I'm kind of forgetting the name of, that wasn't Tojo or Omi, but was the faction that we were trying to deal with the leaders of throughout the game, and they kept getting assassinated or betrayed in various ways. When I saw the guy with the birthmark and the old man, I'm like, I recognize those guys, but I could not remember who they were. That's the kind of struggle situation I'm in. Because it was so... I think they lead really heavily on characters from Kiryu's campaign, which is to its detriment because that was the first campaign. Because, like, as far as all the people that were just showing up, like, it's that guy from earlier, it's that guy from earlier. Saijima's campaign was a weird, snowy village of people that would never come up again, and a prison that was mostly people that never come up again, but, you know, like, a couple of them showed up at the last second to save the guy from suicide. And then he went into a town, so his story is split between 3 separate locations, and the 3rd location was just me and Baba for the most part, and then we went to kidnap a guy to get answers, but he was also one of the leaders of one of the groups, so he got assassinated by Baba, which matched the plans of what had happened so far, and the other, like, that was like the setup so far. It's like, oh man, Dojima or Kiryu or someone is here to meet this local leader, but then they get attacked and so on. So him dying meant he's not coming back. So there wasn't really people to come back from his campaign. And I guess the Akiyama and Haruka campaign was mostly about Park's murder, so it was mostly just that one guy that was kind of framed as one of the last big bads, which was the chairman of the Omi Alliance's dude. So that was the main thing that came back from there, as far as, like, the faces that came back. And then no one really came back from Shinada's campaign, because he wasn't even associated with the Yakuza. So his loose ends largely got wrapped up before the finale chapter started. And then he was just here to deal with this part of the plot that was tied to Daigo and his, like, debts and so on, and his code, but his actual story was over before this finale even started, like his personal story. So yeah, I think the vast majority of returning faces that were in those crowds of Yakuza and so on were all from Kiryu's campaign. So it's just like a struggle to be like, oh shit, what did they do? They did, just a lot of moments where I recognize someone. Like, wasn't this the campaign where Kiryu broke into someone's HQ, and then someone got shot, and then Kiryu... Yeah, I think that was that old man. I think that old man got shot by the guy that is now... by the guy that worked for the Omi Alliance leader, but was betrayed, with the glasses. I think the guy with the glasses, because he was being a dickhead during that campaign, he shot the old man, and then the guy with the birthmark thought that I shot the old man, so we fought, and then the whole place exploded, I think, and but then it turned out the old man didn't die, and no one actually died in that scene, which has been a reoccurring thing where people get shot, but then actually everyone's fine, it's fine. And so that's who they were. That's those people that were showing up there. That was this game. Holy shit, that was a long time ago. But little did I know, my actions all the way back then determined my power level in the final boss fight of the game, which is kind of a dick move to have. Like, it's not unpredictable that you would have a super hard boss fight at the end that Kiryu fights. So, like, it's not completely out of nowhere. It's just that, like, oh wow, the way I left Kiryu all that time ago determined how strong he was gonna be. I guess they just leaned really heavily on you doing those combat training campaigns to level up your characters to get better abilities, and without those, you suck. Like that, it seems like the abilities you get from leveling up the experience meter are not nearly as impactful and important when it comes to fights like that where nothing's working. So that's kind of frustrating, but you also I can't even say that for certainty, because, like, I'm just guessing you get Tiger Drop from training with that other guy. But, like, when I level up as Kiryu, I can't look at what his future abilities are going to be. I can just pick between the next one in each category. but I don't know what will happen later in the series because it doesn't show you the other abilities that come up later, so you just have to guess which tree is the most valuable, and they'll often give you an ability that sucks. Like you're like, I don't want that, so you'll pick other options because they sound more appealing, but the option right after the one you don't like could be amazing. So it's kind of an irritating leveling system compared to other ones. Like in Zero, you could just look at every ability, and it was just this giant like sphere grid from Final Fantasy or whatever. And even in like I think Kiwami 2, you could scroll through all your abilities and see what all of them were in the long term, and if you saw something you liked, it would be like, oh, you need this ability first, so then you went and bought that ability and so on. And it's a little esoteric to have to like buy stuff in the right order when the chain was really long, but at least you could like tell what it was. I don't know. I just feel like I was never this heavily gated in progression until kind of 4 and 5. But that's also my own issue to some extent. It's just like, I don't want to do an entire training campaign for every character with their perfect, their personal sensei. It's like, I kind of want to go back to having one character that I get good at over the course of the game, instead of having the final boss be play the guy that you haven't played for 30 hours. Hope you remember what his combos are. Like, I think these games should limit themselves to 1 or 2 characters. I think 4 and 5 have a lot of structural problems, both from that element and like the narrative, by trying to split it between so many perspectives. I don't think it's to the benefit, and so I think it's a bit telling that the next game split it between 2 perspectives, and it was a big breakthrough for the franchise, and it's still regarded as maybe the best narrative, and so it's probably a good sign that they've gone back to single character for Judgment and 7. And it sounds like 8 might be split between 2 characters again, which is still... I'm good with that. Are we ending with another fake-out Kiryu death? We're doing this. Okay. Or not. I thought they were genuinely ending a game with a fake out Kiryu death again. Finn. Copyright Sega. The word Finn. It's copyright Sega, just so we're clear. $63 hours. Ooh. I had 2 continues in the entire game, and they were both against the final boss fight. Completion total 16%. That always happens though. That percentage is always like depressingly small because of the sheer number of things that they count towards completion percentage, like eating every food at every restaurant, for example. I actually didn't eat. Wow, I only ate 11 times between five campaigns or 5 chapters. That's on average twice per chapter or part. They're called parts because each part is chapters. Whew. Times defeated 40 times? Times defeated 40 times. Number of street fights 55 feels surprisingly small. That's only 10 per part, basically. Huh. That means when I had those really back-to-back ones, that was like a really dense amount of street fights. I was mostly avoiding them pretty well. Heat actions used 419 times. What does times defeated means, though? I didn't die 40 times. Did I play a mini game that you could be defeated in 40 times? I have no idea what that means. Because it says continues too, which makes sense because I had 2 continues. Anyway, 2 million yen. Well, I guess next up is not next up like tomorrow, but next up will be Yakuza 6. After all these years, we're finally ready to play the game that they made after Yakuza 0. Because I was on a big journey to go back. I mean, they made Kiwami 1 and 2 also, but I don't know what order that was in compared to 6, but I can finally start catching up. I think 6 might be all Kiryu, but I actually don't know for sure. But I hope it is, because I definitely would like to go back to games where you play as 1 or 2 characters and get good at those characters. And I'm hoping that since it's after 0, he might have an expanded moveset that's comprehensible to me. Because 0 had my favorite combat, and we're finally going to play a game made after that instead of before that. So I hope that is an addition that is nice. And then eventually we'll get to 7. Judgment, I know, has combat that's like Lee's games, so there's still that in the Judgment sequel. But then 7 has turn-based combat, which I'm both excited and worried about, because on one hand, it could be a fun way to incorporate an entire party of characters and have more interpersonal dynamics instead of just having one guy on his own all the time. And they could rewrite a lot of narrative around that, potentially, depending on how they handle that. But also, turn-based fights are incredibly time-consuming in a lot of games. So I'm a little worried about how common random encounters might be and how tedious they might get. But I'm excited by the idea of turn-based combat in bespoke encounters and boss fights and so on, where they probably... Like, it seemed kind of cinematic and wacky, and like they might have unique scenarios that happen with animations and set pieces for the specific like setting and boss and so on. Like, and that might be really cool to see, like a surprisingly unique setup where, like, compared to a lot of other turn-based games where like you kind of, it's kind of the same thing over and over again, and then you get to a boss and everyone just lines up and the camera zooms out a bit because the boss is bigger. But it still feels like mostly the same thing. Like, I've seen like vehicles and stuff, I think. I'm just curious to see how that all plays out. But I'm also really curious to learn about the new protagonist after 6 and how that works out. 'Cause I especially want to see him be a bigger change from Kiryu than the guy from Judgment is, who's like fine, but he's a kind of a similar stoic character. It didn't feel like a huge change to play him. I like Doctor Who, and there's like a fun concept to the idea of like passing on the mantle and seeing how different the new protagonist is in a long-running franchise like this, and playing around with that kind of idea. I was about to say, I had a thought process and I kind of lost it. Oh yeah. All that build-up. They kept building up the mystery of Majima for the entire game, and then you fight him once as Saejima, and he has almost no dialogue, and especially afterwards, and then you just kind of never see him again. And that was the end of that particular timeline as we resolve like all of the different things that are happening simultaneously across all these different scenes. That's kind of disappointing. It's just this is me being basic and shit, but like you know, Majima's a fun character, and we didn't get to have any fun Majima at all. The only Majima scene where he's not just generically grim is the scene about them cooking meat at the beginning of the game in Saijima's campaign, which is a fun little scene, but I'm like, dude, there's so little Majima in this game. You don't, like, withholding him as a hype mystery thing and then being, what's the payoff going to be? It's just, any positives that can have are severely offset by the fact that you're making a game that has no Majima for the entire time, just so you can pull the tension of, whoa, is Majima dead maybe? You made like the longest Yakuza game ever made, and you excluded one of the most beloved characters from it that is somebody who is in pretty much all the games, and not just like a random side character that comes and goes like the cop from last game, or Shinada might be from this game, because I feel like he might not be around in the next one either, but who knows. So I'm just like, where was Majima? It just feels like a missed opportunity to pull back on that character that you've been developing from game to game. Obviously the next game leans really heavy onto him, but the fact that it feels like if I'm correct about the timing of like 0 coming out between 5 and 6, it's got to be a little weird to go from 5 to 0, and you like, oh man, let's dive into the backstory of Majima. You know, that character that was in Yakuza 5 for 30 seconds? I'm so currently hyped up on all this Majima I've been getting that I can't wait to dig into his backstory. It's like, it's I think he got arrested last game. Like, there's been kind of a decline of Majima. I also felt weird that, so the ending of this game is supposed to be you pulling off everybody's big skills and everyone does their stuff. And like, you know, an ending is generally like the hard fight where you use all the stuff you've learned so far. And admittedly, I don't know how much I've learned because I pretty much just do X combos and then hit Y finishers at different parts in the combos to do different variations of the combos, and then grab people sometimes and then try to trigger the series of heat actions that I currently have memorized for that particular character, and just kind of fool around. And that gets me through 99% of the game until suddenly it's hard once per game, basically. Like, that's the difficulty curve of these games. But that's like, you're supposed to have a big struggle at the end with each character. Haruka plays a relatively passive role in the story, just in general, but especially in the final chapter where she just does the performance and we just watch. But and they keep having to explain in semi-vague terms why she won't meet up with Kiryu, because they specifically want the meeting up at the end to be the big moment where they actually meet. A bit akin to them keeping Kiryu and Majima apart in 0. But my issue is that when everybody else is having their big final fight, Akiyama versus that one dickhead, Saejima versus Majima, and they even contrive, fuck it, Shinada's gonna fight Baba, even though Baba wasn't going to shoot Haruka. And then obviously Kiryu in the Tojo HQ. Haruka doesn't have a final encounter. There is no final performance. The only time I performed as Haruka in the entire final chapter was a sub-story where an ex-coworker of our vocal coach was being rude, so we showed her up by being like, look how good we are, haha, we're talented, you should feel bad. That's it. In the entire finale part with its which I think was 5 chapters long, that's the only thing we do as Haruka. It's for the entire final showdown where everybody else has this big boss fight. We just watch Haruka do stuff just to have the experience without us. Which on one hand, I get that on some level it's like, oh, you get to actually sit here and watch the performance because she's an idol and look at her being charismatic and dancing. But like, couple things. It's a boring performance. On a personal taste level, I'm not really into pop music, and I don't think that the song was particularly interesting. it was very on the nose about like, this song is about one person in particular. It's like, oh, she's singing out to Kiryu specifically. Get it? That's the subtext. Even though she didn't write the song because it was written by somebody else before the team up was even announced to the members of the team up, and it was on a CD already apparently. So like, Haruka did not put any creativity into this song. So even if she chooses to project meaning onto it, it's not her song. So it's not really a song to Kiryu anyway. But we also don't get to, like, it's a whole game leading up to a performance, and then we don't get to do the performance? That just seems like a dick move. And then we actually show the performance, and it's like, oh, it's a boring performance. It's like when I saw the Foo Fighters, and they have all these, and they have this big, high energy, bombastic performance, but then they do the thing where they leave and act like the show's over, and then you cheer for an encore, and it's that whole like song and dance that we play along with at every single rock concert. And then Dave Grohl comes out across the stage to that one, like the walkway that's in the middle of the crowd, and he sits down on a stool and he plays Blackbird by the Beatles on an acoustic guitar alone without the rest of his band. And it's like a nice quiet little like return that warms up. And then after that, he starts playing the opening riff of Everlong, and the entire band comes out, and then they actually play Everlong as a band and stuff. So it's an energy ramp. But like Blackbird is just a quiet little moment. That's what the energy was of the big song, of the big performance that the whole game led up to, was just like a quiet hangout song. Like, it was just like they were all stuck standing in front of microphones that don't move, and so they all had to stand completely still and in front of those microphones and just wave their arms around. Like there wasn't like a big high energy show. They weren't doing any interesting choreography. There was no like light show, like a screen behind them with doing like patterns and stuff. Like, there were like, the only fireworks we saw was used as a background explanation for why the gunshot wasn't audible, but we didn't get to see that performance for that song. And so it's like, it just feels, I understand that it's the song to Kiryu, even though it's not a song made by Haruka, so it's not really to Kiryu. But all of this build-up and all of this spectacle across all these characters, it just feels weird that Haruka has like an anti-spectacle scene, and they make you not play the game so you can watch it yourself and absorb that it's a song for Kiryu. But they make it, but as a result of the tone they went for, they made it the most boring song to actually sit and watch. Like, karaoke in this game consistently has a music video in the background that I wish I could pay more attention to, but I'm playing a relatively busy rhythm game that has a somewhat scary track that keeps changing speeds and so on, and I'm focused on that. And so I'm like, enjoy the video audience, I'll have to watch it on YouTube later. But like, the one time I do have to just sit and watch an entire musical performance in its entirety without any interaction on my part, it's the least interesting visuals ever. It's just Haruka standing still for an uncomfortably long time in a close-up, waving her arms around to emphasize the very bland lyrics of the song. So I'm just like, oh, okay. I was ramped up to either do my final performance that I worked up to because I played Haruka for an entire campaign, or watch a really cool music video, like it's Tokyo Mirage Sessions or something. And instead it was just like, oh, okay, I get it. I'm not entertained really, but I get it. Like, I was kind of waiting for it to end, and then it came back and kind of started playing again, and you're like, Overall, I think Haruka's just a missed opportunity. We've been over this a bit, but like, her quests just have so little substance to them because of the fact that they're almost all about just like, somebody needs to learn to believe in themselves and so on. Like, and she can't like fight, so the stakes are very specific. but they're also they're not diving that deep into the specific struggles of being an idol and like really taking an interest in that stuff in a way akin to like how they take such a specific interest in the bear hunting even. Like it felt like there was a more granular breakdown of the struggles of the hunting village than there was of an idol, despite the fact that that was the mandatory story that you spend way more time with. So her sub-stories kind of all feel like filler that you just get through to get to other stuff. And I say that as somebody who is game for boring things. Like, I'm the dude that played Pathologic and like all 3 campaigns and the sequel, and like I'm not here saying the game always has to involve violence. In fact, I specifically joke about how a lot of the sub-stories go out of their way to, out of nowhere, introduce a guy that needs to get punched just to have a fight suddenly in the middle of a story that kind of just feels out of nowhere. Like, it's really goofy how consistently there has to be a fight in almost every sub-story. So like, I'm not approaching narrative in that way. It's just that Haruka has so little bandwidth emotionally to even explore, and her stakes are so low until the murder happens. But then even then, her sub-stories are just kind of bland and incidental that I just kept hoping for more to happen with her character. And the end result is mostly she's there to be threatened as an on-screen damsel, as opposed to like the off-screen threat that they hint that something's wrong with Majima off camera, and you keep not knowing what's happening until he shows up finally. But then Haruka's entire storyline culminates in her just being somebody who can be threatened. So once you're not playing as her, she's just somebody who might be in danger. And that's it. Then her takeaway is, wow, I fulfilled my duty to Park, and her final wish is, I quit being an idol. I'm going to go back to being happy with my family, which is a fine arc, but it just doesn't feel like it particularly was building to that. Like, there wasn't necessarily, like, I think that they might have been hinting, because they make a point to say that she can't say her father's name, and then she specifically says Kazuma Kiryu on stage. And then multiple times in this chapter, she kept saying Uncle Kaz, and then stopped herself, and would have to say, oh, just someone, or say Kazuma Kiryu to the people that do know who he is, like specifically deflect from their familial relationship. But I feel like that was primarily set up in this chapter, just basically to amp up that moment. And I don't think that necessarily fully culminates in an arc of like, I actually don't want to be an idol. In fact, her opinions about being an idol or not being an idol seem to go completely unexplored almost. Like, she gets recruited into being an idol under this pretense that seemingly all girls want to be idols because gender kind of gets flattened in these games. And then she just kind of goes along with the plans and is generically pure the entire campaign. And so she's just not interesting because of her lack of flaws or oversights and so on. And she just keeps powering through and being too pure for this world, and no one can get past her. And then it just ends with her going home. And you're like, oh, is that what this was building to? Is that the struggle she was having? Like, obviously she's worried about what might be happening to Kiryu in this chapter, and that struggle is shown. But the tug and pull of whether or not she wants to be an idol is like, I don't think that was actually given screen time and established. It seemed like she did actually want to be an idol, and this was like kind of her chance, even though Park seemed off-putting and manipulative and exploitative in distressing ways. And just generally speaking, Park doesn't seem as like sympathetic of a character as the game thinks she is. She was not selling herself very well in that one final day before she died. Like, there was a lot of stuff that I ranted about there where I'm just like, oh no. But also, like, Majima never reacts to the death of Park. We never like confront him about their relationship or the fallout or the fact that he beat her or the fact that she's dead and how he feels about that. Like, there's no encounter between, like, I don't know. There should have been an encounter between Majima and Haruka. They set it up over and over and over again that Majima's going to be there the day of the concert. And I don't remember if they might have established that that was a fake letter or not, for sure, because there's a lot of words have been spilled in this game. But like they spent so long setting up the idea that those characters would encounter each other, so it almost feels like Majima should have been the one that saved Haruka from the attacker, and then he's there, and then they can meet, and they can have some kind of heart-to-heart about Park or something, or some kind of, like, conversation about regret, or really any kind of character beat for Majima. I think, like, Majima's introduction was confusing because he shows up as if he's going to confront that guy, but then he's in chains in the next scene we saw him, and we're like, wait, he got captured? And him being shown as the guy that's seemingly in power in that scene, and then being shown captured in chains, was so theatrical. It basically felt like he voluntarily was performatively a hostage because he was actually helping them. Like, the way he just walked in itself also just felt like he was helping them. Like, the way that he just had access to that place and could just enter that room. I'm like, oh, is he working with the bad guys for some reason? What's going on here with Majima? But no, he just got genuinely captured. I guess off camera he must have threatened... I guess the idea is that off camera he threatened Haruka. And so that's why Majima, he must have just surrendered, because he cares so much about Kiryu and that he can't let Kiryu lose Haruka, basically. But they handled all of that off camera because all of Majima was off camera. So in a game that over explains so many scenes, that part was like so weirdly undershown in an attempt to, I think, be dramatic, but instead it was just kind of confusing and made me think other things were happening. Because oftentimes when strange things do happen, they are implying things. And every single character is a traitor, and then a double traitor, and then a triple traitor in this game. Like, it kept happening so many times, to the point where Baba still was showing up with a gun to shoot Haruka after everything they'd been through. And after how many turns the story had gone down, he still went there, but then wasn't going to do it. I guess... if I think about this, he, because of the camera and everything, he had to play along, at least to that extent, so that they wouldn't send somebody else. So I guess that's probably why Baba was there. The Shinada fight was strange. It really felt like Shinada just had to have a final boss fight. Because Shinada just kind of had to just... It's just like how they like, I'm not relevant to the narrative, I'll be the one that saves Haruka, because no one knows me. Like, it was a series of things where they just had to, like, throw him towards doing something and then come up with what his final boss fight, because everyone gets his final boss fight, just like how in a similarly contrived way every single person had a one-on-one boss fight on top of the Millennium Tower last game across the 4 campaigns. It's a lot. There was a lot happened here. I'll watch that one guy's videos, and maybe I'll get a greater appreciation of parts of this game. I have no idea if the videos are even positive or negative. They do strike me as a bit of a fan channel, so they might all be kind of positive on average, and just, it's all about just reading into it. But I'm sure there's stuff that's leaned heavy on enough in this game that I'm sure they do have themes as through lines in this game that sell more of its storytelling. I just think that the game is so long and so split between so many perspectives and so many names and locations and characters, and then a mountain of side content, and then another mountain of side content that I didn't do but they expect you to also do, that I'm like, I don't know how anyone follows the through line cleanly to keep track of the themes that the game's running with, to have a clear, like, emotional, like, through line. I don't know. I have issues. I'm very curious to see how 6 goes, because it's specifically the follow-up to the game that got me into the series in the first place. But I would definitely like to see a return to form to more like 2 and 3. Because 1 was rough because it was the starting point of the franchise, and it was definitely finding its feet. And even though I played a remake of it, which had its own issues because Majima Everywhere was a kind of a dumb system. It was funny until it was irritating, and also kind of like made it confusing which parts were canonical Majima scenes and which ones weren't. 2 had a much cleaner story and a lot more going on that made more sense and was more satisfying. 3, the main plot's ending was kind of baffling, but it did a lot with Okinawa and the local people that like had stuff working, including the orphanage. And I think people, this is why I say that I 100% wouldn't mind, like I don't, my dislike of Haruka's campaign is not the lack of action, because I'm the guy that's like, actually the stuff that people think is boring in 3 is actually kind of cool. It's interesting developing Kiryu in this specific way. Like I'm game for that kind of narrative. I'm like, in a contrarian sort of way, I'm like specifically hyped up for the idea of a Haruka campaign because I want to see what they'll do with it, and then they just don't meet my expectations there. But 2 and 3 were making a lot of progress back towards what I liked in 0. And then 4 and 5 are just so fragmented across so many characters and storylines and just nonsense that they just get very... I want to step away from this approach, because I think the narrative suffers from being split between so many perspectives, but also not building them in parallel, but instead making you play the entire storyline of each character back to end to end, back to back. Like there's no intermixing, so there's no combined narrative intrigue across them. It feels like you're starting and stopping from scratch over and over again, and then it eventually builds towards something we swear. But it more feels like the finale is desperately trying to combine them all in some kind of sensical way, and it suffers for that. So the narrative's rough, but mechanically it's rough because like it's an ungodly amount of gameplay they're expecting you to do. Like I don't mind having a list of sub-stories for every character, because the sub-stories are part of the draw in many cases. But having side stories for all the characters, so every single character has an extended mini-game sequence with its own through-line narrative, and then every single one of them has a personal trainer with its own personal narrative and thing to grind through for hours. And then they also need to reintroduce every single system. So like, here's the guy who wants to know about restaurants. Here's Revelations. Here's another thing. Kamiya works. Like they keep, like they have to hit you with this deluge of messages with every character in order to try to make, because they insisted on having every single character have parity with each other and be equally developed and equally have a level up system and equally have a training system and equally have a sub campaign. And it just gets so incredibly too much to fully flesh that out for every single character that it like, not only is the game kind of exhausting when it starts to just try to explain them all again, and you meet and like there's the mandatory talk to this guy and he teaches you about this thing that you already know about it from the other 4 campaigns, but we have to have a scene where he introduces it to this character, which is the thing they've done in both games. But it's also like it's just so much to like get fully invested in a campaign. Like I did go through and like get all the Komaki moves in previous games as Kiryu, but the idea of doing that 4 times or 5 times if you count like the training that they expect you to do as Haruka, even though it doesn't lead to much of anything, but you can like really obsessively do every single level up and get all of her stats up and fight every single street battle and complete every single activity in her entire idle planning thing. Like it feels way too much. It feels way too much like it's checklisty and content for the sake of being content. But unlike random collectibles in other games that are busy work that you can easily ignore, you do feel like you're actively hurting yourself for not doing everything in these campaigns, which makes them just feel... It starts to feel like it's like Persona levels of overwhelming, where you're like, oh my goodness, they expect me to do how much as this character in like one continuous go? That's insane. And then I have to start over and do it for 4 more characters? Whoa. There's people who are hype about that get up, and I won't take that from you, but that is not a choice that I prefer. Like that is intense, and I would like to never do it again, and it seems like maybe they don't ever again. So RIP that concept. It's probably for the best. And yeah, like I think the campaigns are just strange. Like they insist very specifically on having the same number of chapters for every character, but you can feel the system straining at the seams when they then are like, oh, but they have to have the same number of chapters, and they have to have the same number of sub-stories, and they have to have an entire extended campaign thingy. But what if we did something creative with this character? Like, both games struggle with Saejima because they have a character start in one location and then change locations, and so they try to have this narrative structure, but they end up being like, oh shit, well, you blow through 3 out of 4 of his chapters just trying to get through the opening narrative of him breaking out of jail, and then they pluck you into a open world where you then grind out all of his side quests in one sitting because they're all available simultaneously in this one brief gasp of air where you're not doing the narrative, and then the moment you do the narrative again, you end his campaign and change characters. Like, that's one of the biggest imbalances of that shows how much this system kind of struggles under its own weight, is the fact that in both games Saejima largely works that way. Like, I think you get to the open world as Saejima in chapter 3 or 4 both times, and then you have to do a mountain of side quests that are all unlocked simultaneously in one go that they can't pace out at all, and do an entire grinding system of leveling up your character, all to then just do like the next half an hour of story that ends his campaign immediately, and you're like, why did I even do all that? Like, you know, I only had a little bit of story left, and you just have to hope there's enough in the finale to justify the work you put in, and it mostly just means he does one more boss fight, and you're like, cool, I'm glad I grinded for 8 hours for this one fight, the only time that it'll pay off. It's just strange. It's very strange, and it feels very much like they put out the framework of how the whole thing has to work out, and then they just fill it in according to that framework, and they stick to it so rigidly that it just does not work equally from character to character. And I feel like they tried to iterate on it here, and instead of becoming more sensical, it kind of got just more convoluted and bloated. And so I can see why they eventually give up on this idea a bit, but also revisit it in what was ultimately a more elegant system, which is having Kiryu and Majima alternate every chapters through the entire... Like, it's a huge upgrade. So many upgrades in Zero is the fact that, like, it's only 2 characters, so you can have the narrative be happening on multiple fronts to make it feel larger, but without it being, like, an incredible, huge mess like this one was. But you also, like... You're switching every 2 chapters, so you're not just having to play one guy for 10 hours, then the other guy for 10 hours. They're actually, like, there's interplay, and characters can come from one narrative to the other, like, simultaneously, and it feels like a living story that's happening with everybody at once. But also it had recaps, so whenever you switch back to a character again, it'd be like, and here's what happened last chapter to catch you up, which, as I said before, not only helps you just, like, it's not just a rote repeat of everything that happened, but it's also like it zeroes you in on the specific details that they want you to remember, which means that they're important to either this chapter or future chapters, and those are the most significant details worth remembering, and that helps you understand the story better in a way that's more helpful than this. So there's just like a lot of progress was made very quickly, as far as I can tell there. But I'm not a fan of this particular narrative structure style where you're so intent on it being a mystery and having twists, and you can have twists still even without what I'm talking about here, but like they're so intent on having us not on it being a conspiracy secret thing that like you play pretty much the entire game not knowing what the plot is. Like there's some kind of personal struggle or problem happening more immediately with the characters you're dealing with, but you get any like the actual like what this all means in the grand scale of things. Like, are you how this affects the enemy's plans, who's doing what and why? Like you know almost none of that because of the fact that they're so intent on having a mystery. And so every single campaign had some guy that was working for mysterious reasons, and they were working for some bigger dude, and we didn't know what that guy's plan was, and half of those characters died. Like they outlived their, like so many characters outlived their usefulness and were murdered like abruptly, and then you just move on, and you're like, okay, but me, protagonist man, has still not learned much of anything, and now we're just changing characters again. Like that happened several times, all for them to then reveal a new character. It's like they not a new character. We've heard of the chairman, but the chairman just shows up and is revealed to be the guy behind everything. And then similarly, they just have the twist like, aha, that one guy from 40 hours ago, that's actually the chairman's son, and now he's behaving completely differently, and it was his plan all along, and now you gotta fight them as the final boss. And I'm tired of fighting boss fights, like doing final bosses that are practically a new character, or just are a new character that just showed up that scene, and that's like the ending of the game. Like that's just, it's not like I feel like they didn't learn why people like the second game's narrative, because like Ryuji wasn't a surprise. Because it goes back to the first game where I'm pretty sure the guy with the mole on his head, that's the final boss, bad man that's behind everything. I'm pretty sure you see him for the first time in that scene at the end of the game, and then you beat him and you're like, fuck that guy. Like obviously Nishiki was like the mini boss sub villain that you have more emotional connection to. Although I don't even know if that was true in Yakuza 1 on its own, but it became true when you play 0 and then 1, because 0 does so much for Nishiki's character that it is tragic that this is where they end up. But like the bad man just shows up and it's like, I'm the bad man. And like this, by the time you get to the villain of this game, the seventh chairman of the Omi Alliance, he's just like some evil dickhead with an incoherent ideology and goal. And like maybe I missed something, but I feel like he basically was just being chaotic for the sake of it, and was forcing a bunch of death matches between people he hated for fun, and was kind of just making a big explosion on his way out because he was dying, and this was all coming to a close. And so he was just doing the whole thing out of spite. But like that's not the most satisfying like outcome to have when you have this massive multi-pronged conspiracy spanning several campaigns that's supposed to feel like this big combined thing, and at the end it's like, this guy's just a dickhead, basically. He's just being a dick. Like that wasn't the entire thing. Like he was planning on the final reveal after it feels like he literally is just a substanceless dick for so long, is that he is apparently trying to simultaneously defeat and combine the Tojo clan and the Omi Alliance and give them to his son, who we've never met before as being his son, so that itself was news. So I guess that was his master plan, was to make that big power grab for his son, which even his son is like saying he doesn't care about that. So we're just like, okay. There's just some cleaning up to do here. I want to have more of a connection and understanding of villains and they pulled it off twice with Ryuji and Nishiki, even though I think they had to cheat a little bit by making Nishiki a more interesting villain by having Zero like rewrite a lot of him and add a lot to him. But the fact that they've thought to do that makes me hope they do more like that in the future, because I don't really want to have any more endings where at the end I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? I guess we're doing this now. All right. It's just it's not as narratively satisfying, and I'm just going forward. I'm just kind of hoping for the best. I don't know. I don't hate this game. I just this is what I do in general. I tend to, if I have a rant at the end of a playthrough, it tends to be about all the things that are sticking out to me that have been bugging me, and that doesn't mean that that's what the overall experience was for me, but that's what I break down on more than like trying to like really. It's harder to get into what's good about a game from scratch, but also a lot of that's just kind of self-evident. Like, it's a hype-ass anime ridiculous nightmare game where completely insane things happen all the time. Like, the heat actions, like, you can take a wacky sub-story that's well written and funny and has a through line that's satisfying, and then you can take a few really gnarly heat actions, and those two kind of summarize a lot of what's good about the Yakuza franchise. Is like, because like the writing can be very fun sometimes, and then the heat action just like all the QTEs that happen to that final boss fight are just like emblematic of like just the hype and ridiculousness. That's why there's like all these memes about like, this is how Kiryu opens a door, this is how Kiryu answers a phone, and it's just so oversold in a very funny, entertaining way, and that's great. There's also like sometimes very interesting morals about masculinity that are handled. Like, Kiryu is often an interesting protagonist that can show a lot of emotion in some of these games in a way that's like beyond what you usually expect characters to do in masculine roles. And there's like certain discussions about what men should do that are at times like surprisingly progressive and interesting and introspective, but then the game then just like does just like fall on its face immediately with other issues and discussions of women or dealing with queerness and so on. So it's a mixed bag, but it can be surprisingly thoughtful at times about certain things. And then it turns around and it's like, it's like, oh, it's hard to be a boss firing all these people. I'm the guy who you should be sad about in this scene. So it's it goes all over the place. I've ranted way too long. This is enough. It's time to go to bed. See you guys later.